So when I book a gig and I realize that I'm going to be working with actress, model, host, spokesperson, registered nurse, and if I'm being honest, my preferred work wife, Amy Garber, I know it's going to be a great day. Thanks for doing this, Amy.
Paul. I know. I was trying to go through last night and I was trying to think of when we first met. And I think it was 18 or so years ago at that Pocono, that like cheesy Pocono commercial.
Oh, yeah, you had a wife.
I had a wife, Carissa. Yes.
That wasn't 18 years ago. That was probably...
It was a long time ago.
Because this is my 17th year total. And I think that was probably, I'm going to guess 8, 9 years, maybe 10.
All right. I tend to exaggerate. You'll find that out. But no, yes, it was a long time ago. But I think that's when we first worked together?
I don't know if that was the first time. I do remember the gig. I don't want to say that was the first time. Maybe our QVC orbits may have passed before that. Maybe. I don't know.
But then since we've gotten to work together a lot, which has been great. I do always get really excited when I see you on the call sheet.
Same here. And just because it's, we've orbited each other in gigs. We've done a lot of B-roll for the Q, and it just breeds familiarity and comfort with your coworker. We don't have to break the ice.
Right.
There's that familiarity right there, and it just makes us do our jobs that much better when you have that level of comfort with someone.
I agree. And then we always just end up bouncing things off each other and like spiraling to other topics, and it's just fun and exciting. You don't have to like get over those like, hey, how are you? Where are you from? Do you do anything else? Like all the pleasantries, which are great when you meet people, but we're past that. So anyway, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Very accomplished in terms of modeling, commercial work. You also have some legit notches on that belt that I'm going to get to. But what I don't know about you, take me to the origins. Take me to the beginning. Take me through when you first started. Did you start before nursing, after nursing? How did this all come about?
It was a journey. So honestly, when I was a kid, like I always wanted to do this business. I would watch TV and I would be watching it, not for the story, but watching like the characters and reenacting what they were doing and thinking, I could do that. I could do that. Like just, I couldn't tell you what was going on in the story, but I could tell you every line they said because that's what I was interested in. So yada yada, I'm like, very practical and I was a great student. And so I went to college. I was getting my bachelor's degree in biology and psychology, and I was pre-med. And I think I was just going down that road because I knew I could. I was interested in medicine, but something wasn't fully fulfilled in me. And I ended up getting into medical school. And that summer between college and medical school, I kind of panicked and froze and thought, I don't think this is what I want to do. So I took a year off, which I'm so grateful that I did. And in that time, I started just looking into acting and modeling. And I was looking into acting. Modeling wasn't even on my radar. I was looking into acting and I found an independent film that I ended up booking. It was called Cheerleader Massacre 2 with Peter Coe. He came around at some point during that. And that's while I was working on that is when I met Peter Coe, and he kind of got me into the business. There is another Cheerleader Massacre 2 out there. Beware, that is not the one I was in. That one is maybe an adult film. I'm not sure, but that was not the one I was in. The one I was in was never really released to the public. We did like a screening at the Pittman movie theater, which was so fun back then.
Good to point that out.
Yes, for sure. But then I just felt like the ball got rolling, and Pete got me into some other indie films. And then through those, I met people on set and talked to them. They're like, oh, you should talk to this agent and this modeling agency. I got in with, it was MMA back in the day. And then they got me into QVC, which honestly was like my bread and butter. I was modeling there. It's been now 20 years that I've been there. And that has really sustained my income to allow me to do this dream of ours. But in the meantime, that first year, just to circle back, that first year, did the indie film, loved it, great. They don't pay. It's like the fun and for the credits and the deferred pay. And so my mind is like, I can't do this forever. This isn't practical. So I thought, you know what? My sister was a nurse at the time. And I thought, that could be the right way to go. So I went to nursing school, got my bachelor's in nursing. And during that time, while I was going to nurse, it was a 1-year program since I already had my bachelor's degree from college. I was still dabbling and never really got out of it. As I started my nursing career, I'm still doing this, still doing QVC, doing this, doing that, meeting more people, chatting, talking. And eventually it kind of got to where I was doing like full-time, like it was a lot. So I started to cut back to nursing. I did part-time nursing and kept growing this side of the business. And then in like 2015, I kind of just cut the security blanket and decided to just dive in full time. And here we are almost 10 years later. And I don't look back. I don't regret it. I'm loving every second of it. I keep my license. I have to do continuing education for my nursing license. I went through too much school to lose that altogether. And to be honest with you, there's a good little niche out there for real nurses with on-camera experience. So you and me have worked on many a pharmacy times, a lot of continuing education things. So it comes pretty easy to me, that side of it, because I have that background. But that's kind of how a long-winded answer for how it all came about.
It's incredible that you were able to cut the cord that way and you've been able to maintain, especially with such a young family. I honestly don't know how people do that.
Yes. And I have to say, I think my husband being 100% supportive and on board was the reason that I could do any of that. He has 1000% always supported my dream. And I love that. But it helps that I'm contributing. Like having QVC here, like I said, was a huge factor for me to be able to make money while I'm doing what I love. And yeah, so now that's kind of slowed down. And that's why I'm like pushing into more outlets, but we'll get there.
Incredible. Well, early on, I guess before you cut the cord, you had a pretty significant score right off the bat. So tell me about how you landed the Chapelle Show.
Yes, that was a fun time. So, Pete, great guy. And he somehow finds these connections and sent me up to New York to meet a casting director. And it's also fuzzy because it was so long ago. But I remember I met this casting director and then like shortly after got a call to go film this show called The Chapelle Show. And I had no idea what I was doing, Paul. When I say no idea, like clueless. The only thing I had done before Chapelle Show was an episode of Forensic Files. And I was like, a dead person. And they were like dragging my feet. So that was the only thing I did before Chapelle Show.
So what year was this?
Gosh, that was probably... hold on, I have to think about this because this was like, I wasn't married yet. This was back like 2005, maybe 2004, 2005, 2004.
So how many years in were you into the industry when this happened?
Like one-ish.
Okay.
One-ish, probably about one. I was doing a bunch of indies along with waitressing and then started nursing school. It was during nursing school when I had the Chapelle thing. That's right. So I was a year in and I went. So anyway, so they called me to film this show. Not even an audition. They're like, okay, they want you on the show. So I guess I auditioned at the casting office. It was just like an informal meeting. It wasn't even really an audition. So I go to film on the Chapelle Show and the episode that we were filming is not the one that I eventually ended up being in. It was one that we filmed. There was a lot of prank shows going on at the time. And so they were spoofing these prank shows. And the scene was, I was pretending to be in a sexual position with Dave Chapelle, who in the show was married or with someone. It was very raunchy, that show. So in walks his significant other, and we're caught in a precarious situation. And she starts slipping out and me and him start cracking up. It's just a joke. This isn't real. And we hold up what it was. And that was supposed to be like, we filmed that. Like that was what we filmed. And I'm like just so young and innocent. And this is just all just crazy to me. So I'm already like, kind of a little freaking out. Like, I just don't know. Is this okay? Like what is happening? So then Pete calls and is like, they decided that they're not actually going to show that episode because you look so young that it looks really bad. So they're like, but they do want to bring you up for another show, another episode. So I got to go back up, and that's when the Mad Real World skit was, which was really fun. And Dave Chapelle was awesome. and Charlie Murphy was awesome. And they just improv. I mean, that's where I feel like I learned, like, yeah, you get lines in a script, but play, have fun. I mean, these guys were just improving, ripping lines, and like a lot of what they ended up airing was not on the paper at the time, but just was so funny and real and fun. And everybody was just so welcoming. And Dave Chappelle thanked me like 10 times for being on his show. And I'm like, thank you for having me on your show. And I had no idea that it was going to blow up into what it was. There was a cult following of that. I always think if Instagram was around back then, I'd have a lot more followers than I do now.
Right.
But yeah, it was exciting. It was a fun time. I was so nervous, Paul, so nervous for that to air and come out. Because like I said, I never curse. Like, I'm a good girl. And that had some really raunchy elements. So when that came out, I was nervous for my boyfriend at the time, who became my husband, to see it. I was really nervous for my parents to see it. And they're great. Like, my mom is so amazingly supportive. She's my number one fan. I just adore her. And, my dad watched it and he's like, yeah, I mean, you were good. It's just not my type of comedy. And I'm like, okay, great. Okay. We got that off our chest, done. Let's not watch that ever again.
I remember when I did, when I had my break on Banshee on Cinemax, and my third and final episode, the end of my arc of my character, I'm not going to give it away for those who haven't seen it. When it came up, my mother refused to watch it. Said to her repeatedly, it's okay. If it wasn't okay, I wouldn't tell you to watch it. She absolutely refused, because she saw the clip at the preview that I was in for 1 second in the preview where I am being strangled in a car. And that was enough for her. So I can't imagine. If I had to watch what you did on Chapelle with your parents, I'd have my head in a pillow. Right?
I know. As like a dad watching their daughter, it's like, I'm like, it's all fake. Like, we're just acting. Like, nothing really happened. But it was a really fun time. And everybody, they were so respectful. And it was done, clearly in a way that they respected, us as actors and actresses. But oh, Paul, the things that we subject our parents to, I am not looking forward to that down the road with my own.
Yeah, I want to get to that. But so you got that hit right away. Yes. And it's like, okay, this is hip, this is current, this is cool. Did you think that it's just going to be smooth sailing from there?
No, honestly, I just thought, this is just something I'm doing for fun. My life is going to be, I'm a nurse. This is just something I'm doing on the side. It's a hobby. It isn't practical. And I do remember like Pete trying to ride the reins of that and like push for me a little further. And I had clinicals at nursing school that like I couldn't miss. And like, I feel like back then, I just didn't think it would ever be something I could make a living on. So I kind of prioritized nursing and kind of pushed that to the side. So then, all those years later, when I did realize, you know what, this is what I love. This is my passion and this is what I'm going to follow. I feel like I was too far removed to then use that as like a push. I look like a baby in the Chapelle Show. I was really young. And so I feel like when I really got into acting and making my reel, that wasn't until years later, because that wasn't really my profession. It was just my hobby. So it took me a good 10 years of being in this business to think, I think I want this to be my profession. And that's when I made a reel. That's when I started trying to do things. And up until that point, all the things I did, then I looked different and I sounded different and I moved different. And so I feel like I never got to really take advantage of the Chapelle Show, which stinks. But I did put a clip of it on Instagram like a couple months ago, and it got like 5 million views. So
What?
That was insane. Yeah, 5 million.
Wow.
Maybe it's 4.1, around there, but something insane. And I'm like, man, I would have had a lot of followers. But that's also not who I am or what I'm about. Like, I feel like I'm on social just to promote me being an actress and promote my business. And you have to, like if you're not promoting yourself, who's going to promote for you? But I also am not like a post every day or type of person. Maybe I should get with that,
but there's nothing wrong with popularity either. If you are in a project that catches wind and pushes that sail on that boat, then why not?
Yeah. When you were on Banshee, you gained a ton of followers.
It was, and you know what? That was my first brush or breath of notoriety, and it happened really quick, and it faded quick. The show wasn't watched by millions and millions on a network. It had its own small band of loyal watchers every week. I think it had somewhere in the six figures. But I remember after I debuted, my Twitter followers skyrocketed overnight. I had people DMing me. I had people asking me, can you tell me if you live or die? Can you tell me if you draw blood? We have a pool at work.
Oh, that's so funny.
If you don't mind, like I actually had people DMing me, asking me for these things. And I ended up in the Banshee Wikipedia page.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Remind me to tell you about Wikipedia.
Okay. But it faded, you know, as things do in time. But if I'm being honest, when it first happened, I felt very vulnerable. I felt proverbially naked. I just wasn't used to that.
Right.
So I can't imagine, heaven forbid, if we ever get to a point where we're hovering in the A-list world, especially the way the world works today.
Also, like even when I posted that clip and had all those views, I got a lot of negative, nasty comments. And as much as you want to just dismiss them, it like sticks to you a bit. And you have to like really reconcile that in your head. Like someone like, you know, kind of saying like, oh, you know, your kids must be so proud. Like, you know, like just like sarcastic. And it's like, they're in the business. They know what acting is. Like, yeah, they are proud of me. To be honest with you, they are. Like, so it's just the temptation to not like write back these comments. But I just don't want to get into that. I just want to ignore it. But it just bothers. I think that's why I don't post more, because of the negative comments that could potentially come back. And my skin it's thick, but not that thick. It still hurts. You know?
No, I totally get it. Ultimately, like we're not, you know, terribly young. We realize that those comments and anyone's opinion comes from their own projections and how they view the world. And it's not, they don't know you.
We think that all we want, and we say that in our brains, but then you read it and you're like,
yeah, but I get it still. It does sting.
Yeah.
How can it not?
Yeah. But wait, can I just say something real quick when you're talking about Wikipedia?
Of course.
So there's a Wikipedia page it's called WikiFeet.
Oh no.
So
Yeah.
I do a lot of foot modeling and shoe modeling on QVC, along with a lot of the other QVC models. And somebody has created like pages for us with just like close-up pictures of our feet that like people rate and like comment on and talk about if they like your foot or they don't, or it bends like that. It's the most bizarre thing. I looked at it like years and years ago when we found it. We were cracking up. We were all sitting around. We were dying laughing. And then I'm like, I don't know if I want to see this again. And I haven't even really looked since. But there was a whole page, Amy Garber, WikiFeet, celebrity foot model. I'm like, okay, WikiFeet. It's so bizarre.
What the hell is it about feet?
Well, not to each his own. I mean, it is what it is, and that's fine. But just to know that somebody made a whole page of your feet is a little strange.
Well, I kind of have not a parallel to that, but I have a similar story. When I worked at QVC, I worked on the QVC Insider magazine. And I remember I was a paginator, designer. I did some art direction with the models. And I remember being privy to some of the letters, quote unquote, and the feedback from the readers. And they would say, more feet of this model, please. They just really enjoyed the full body shots, even though they weren't, you know, barefoot or anything. Maybe they had on a heel or maybe an open toe. God forbid they had an open toe. But
wish you did, Paul.
Hey, another subscription, another year.
Oh my gosh!
But those were the bizarre elements of
the things you don't realize
at that time. No. How the hell do you deal with that? I mean, you think the Chapelle negative comments are bad. I can't imagine what they're saying on the feet pages.
I know. And there are models that read comments continuously on like these QVC fan pages. I don't care.
Right.
Like I'm just there doing my job. I don't feel the need to read comments and go searching, and it is what it is.
No, you're too busy for that. And I want to get to the queue in a second, but just to cap off, being a hobby for you when you landed Chapelle and not full time, maybe you can make the argument that it worked better for you that it wasn't do or die and blood money, where you had to have the show, you had to keep booking more legit stuff.
I think so. It's just fun. I was like, oh, I did this thing. It was so fun. I did the show and it was great. And okay, time to study for the boards. You know, it was good and it was fun. But yeah, so then I loved it so much that there was just this magnetic pull. I just couldn't say goodbye to it. So I just kept going, and I had some really great bosses at the hospital. that would let me leave on my lunch break, because I worked down in the city, in Philadelphia, in Center City at one of the hospitals there. They would let me leave, like take my lunch break, which nurses hardly get anyway, to go do an audition at one of the casting director's office and run back. Like amazing things that some of my bosses did for me. So I would have a lot of people to credit to getting this far as I did, and every day I pinch myself that I didn't know anybody in this business. Nobody stuck their neck out for me in terms of like, oh, you're my cousin, I can get you in. Like I was brand new. Nobody in my family had done anything like this. So I don't know. I'm sometimes just proud of how far I've come, just learning it all on my own, with, of course, the help of all the other actors and people that you talk to along the way.
Of course. It sounds like hearing you say this, it makes me realize what a similar path you and I both have. The same thing happened to me when I was at the Q. 1 minute I'm in a cubicle and I just started taking acting classes with Mike Lemmon. Next thing I know, I get a call from Herein Loftus saying, Paul, we want you to be featured background on the How Do You Know movie. We're going to need you for a week. I'm like, I got a full-time job. They're like, Jason, I remember Jason saying to me, you want to do this. You want to find a way, you want to do this. So I had one day to ask for 7 days off. I was working with creative people in like the in-house ad agency. I don't think it would have worked if I was working in IT or accounting.
Right.
But then I had to explain myself when I came back 3 days later after I got upgraded. Like, wait, you were going to be gone for a week. You're back after 3 days. What's up with this? So I burnt that candle at both ends for maybe a year before I cannonballed out of there and went into acting full time. But it's like I tried to be normal. I tried to be normal for 12 years and it didn't work.
You can't take the crazy out of us, Paul. You just can't.
What blood type are we? I don't know. But,
I'm A+.
A+.
I am. I'm an A positive.
F- over here. But QVC, I mean, it's the lifeboat that actors and models have in the Philadelphia region.
It is. It's also, I've heard people refer to it as golden handcuffs, and that's what it was for me for a very long time. It was, I got stuck there. It was amazing. I made a lot of money there and I worked all the time, but I also missed a lot of really important events in my family because I just was fully there. And it's hard when like they're just constantly sending you bookings. It's like dangling the carrot and you're like, why will I not take that? I don't care if it's 4 a.m, but then you forget you have kids to wake up to the next day and you want to be a good mom. So, I mean, yes, I enjoyed my time there, but I am really enjoying working there less now and creatively growing more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You're not the first person to say that. I had Gus the Groundhog himself, Rob Del Casale, on not too long ago. And he had a similar story where it's like, it's not your schedule, it's their schedule. And you have to weave and joust and move to their whims.
You do. And like I said, it was great for when it was. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for them making the decision to not book me as much, because I don't know if I would have made that decision. But when that happened, it forced me to open my eyes and be like, okay, what else is out there then? And that's really when I started looking into other agents. That's when I really started taking acting classes. That's when I really started, expanding into other markets. And it's fun. It's really fun.
Was Q, when things were humming a few years ago, was the Q did it provide most of your income? Did it allow you to fill in the gaps from commercial gigs and modeling gigs?
I feel like for a while, it was like 80% of my income. And then it kept, same thing as like nursing. Like then it kept like creeping down and other stuff was creeping up. And it got to the point where I started to prioritize some bigger jobs over that, even though they were like, it's a whole nother beast. QVC is a whole beast of its own. But it allowed me, it's almost like when someone has you equate it to people on the West Coast who are servers and bartenders. And that's how they're getting by to live while they're acting or trying to act. It afforded me the opportunity to be able to do what I do. And honestly, all along, I've always been saying, like, people will say, what is your ultimate goal? What is your dream? And my view of success is just doing what you love and being able to make a living doing it. And right now, that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm not looking to move to LA. Obviously, I want to keep growing in this profession and keep, moving up in the ranks. But every day I feel successful. I'm doing what I love and I'm supporting my family, and you can't beat that. So
you are successful.
QVC was a stepping stone. To bring it back around, QVC was a stepping stone. And they're still great to fill in the gaps. That's what it is now, filling in the gaps.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
A full-time job.
Yeah. Aside from standardized patient work, I don't know what else most actors and models would do without it in this area. From modeling to co-hosting, guest hosting, it really is like a nice lifeboat.
It is.
So I do get the golden handcuff thing. I do get that. Do you know, like to the number, how many times Chaz Dean has styled your hair?
Oh no, I've been we're going on like 18 years. So it's like the number of times his hands have been in my head. I couldn't even tell you, infinite. I will say he is the most genuine person. Like what you see is what you get. He has the biggest heart in the world, and he's just the most genuine man you'll ever meet. He's so passionate about his product, and I will say that it's an amazing product. But he is who he is, and just, I love him for that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, you have QVC, you have Westchester, you have this whole area. You also had, I'm getting to the fluffy, you know, rainbow and ice cream gigs. I was delighted to see your Out and About series with Chester County Life magazine.
Oh, yeah. So
how did that come about?
That was funny. So I used to do these bridal fashion shows. I don't know if you used to do bridal fashion shows? Anyway, and at one point, I used to do them with this lady, Herein, and she was, I guess there's a store in Bryn Mawr, Paoli that asked her if she had anybody she knew that could model for the day for them. They were just filming an ad in this magazine. And so she asked me if I wanted to be one of the models. So I went, and the editor of Chester County Life magazine, this was for that magazine. This was a print shoot for them. He was there. And at one point, everyone was kind of like, oh, like, what should we do to make it a little different? And I guess I said an idea. I was like, well, why don't we do this or move here or do that? And he took a notice to that and a liking. And he ended up calling me. He called the store to ask for Karan's number, to get my number, to see if I wanted to do some more shoots with him. And he always comes back to that, the fact that I had my own ideas, that I wasn't afraid to you know, speak out about them and give ideas. I wasn't just like sitting in the background waiting to be told what to do. He always comes back to that. So his wife was making these handbags, these like beach bags. So he wanted to do some shoots at the beach. So that is how it all got started. He called me and was like, hey, do you want to go down to Ocean City? We'll do these beach bag shoots. We did that for a couple of years. We would go down throughout like the spring and summer and do these beach bag shoots. And then it turned out to, let's do some shoots for some local places. And then it turned into this Amy out. And once COVID came, that's what it was after COVID. He was like, we need to get these businesses. He's a huge fan of small businesses. Ken Dooley is his name. He's the editor for Chester County Life magazine and the owner. He wanted to really get small businesses back up and running. So he said, why don't we do some articles? We'll call it Amy Out and About, and we'll go to small businesses. And at first it was just kind of mishmash. And then we started really focusing in, and we would do all pizza for one article, all ice cream stores. I have to tell you, they were my favorite jobs. We went to like 20 ice cream places in a matter of like 4 days. And I just ate ice cream until I was blue in the face. But I could eat ice cream forever. So
it must be nice.
It was so nice. Cakes.
Must be nice.
It did. Tea and coffee shops. We did I don't know. We did beer. Somehow I talked him into doing beer distributors. I think my husband talked me into that one. So,
hey, how about the King of Prussia Mall high fashion wing? How about that? Huh?
Right. Yes, I know.
Handbags.
Like really nice boutiques like Posh. And that's how I started modeling for Posh as well, because I met them through Ken. So you just meet people along the way, and they just find each other. Yeah. He had my kids in it a few times, and they always remember that, because they're like, remember that shoot we got to do for Duck Donuts? Because he took up the Duck Donuts to do a shoot. So he's like, yeah, take another bite. He's taking pictures as they're eating. But I will say it is funny, because when we do the Amy Out and About shoots, so he's an older man, and it's just him with his phone. So it always looks kind of funny. He used to bring his big camera until these iPhones started getting really high quality pictures. So it's just him with his phone. So now it's like, we'll be at, like, we were doing sandwiches, and it's like, he'll be like, okay, now take a bite. And I'm like, and he's taking pictures, and like people are kind of looking like it looks a little strange.
Yes.
Or like I'm standing there at like the case, like, ooh, like waiting and he's like taking my picture, and people are like, what are you doing? And he never likes to tell them what we're doing, because he doesn't want them to have a say, I think, in like, or he doesn't want it to be staged on their end. So he's always like, oh, we're just, taking pictures. It's like,
you could feel the eyes on you.
Yes,
I always feel the eyes on me.
Yes.
But I've learned to just let it go and ignore it. And if you have to explain it, you explain it quick and you keep moving.
That's what I say. I know. I'm always like, oh, I'm just going to do an Instagram post. And then they're like, oh, side us. I'm like, I will. So yeah, it's just, but it is funny, the looks you get.
It's just nice to have this bedrock and this consistency of cute, cool gigs. So you're getting your hair done, you get to wear nice clothes, you're getting to eat pizza and ice cream and go to breweries.
I don't know how I'm getting paid to do what I do, Paul.
I mean, it's like I think you step in it. I don't know how, but you do. At least that's what I see.
Yes, agreed. But I also work really hard. And I'm a hustler, and I put a lot of work in. So for everything you see or that people see on Instagram, like, oh, this job, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes for that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And we enjoy having these, these cushy jobs or fun jobs. But again, you've had a couple of those legit notches again. You and I both had a minute on the Apple TV series Dope Thief.
Yes.
And that's always a thrill. It's coming out soon.
Yes.
March 2025, finally, after 2 years, I think. And
so did I tell you about that one? So I went, so I shot 2 episodes for that. And they called me back recently to do ADR for the first episode that I shot. And I see that it's only the back of my head that you see as I'm talking. So I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm hoping the second episode that I'm in, you'll actually see my face, because it's like a vicious cycle. Like you can't get these co-star roles unless you have co-star credits, but you can't get these co-star credits on your reel because they show the back of your head. So you're like, all right.
Hey,
on to the next one.
My first movie, how do you know? I got an upgrade and I'm flying high and I wait 16 months for the movie to come out. Whole scene's gone.
Oh, it's the worst, isn't it?
Welcome to showbiz, kid.
Welcome to showbiz. I know. Mayor of Easttown got booked for a role of Mayor of Easttown, and then COVID hit, and they rewrote that scene because they didn't want. It was a wedding scene. It was a speaking role that I had, but it was a wedding scene, so they didn't want to have that many extras. So they made it into like a date night instead of a wedding scene, and they cut my role out. So it's like it's frustrating sometimes.
That's the problem, I think, when we get to book legit stuff around here. It's that these are, I don't like to use the word small parts, but they have less lines. We kind of are on the periphery of scenes, and they can be expendable sometimes. And we all have our moments where we book and we're happy, and then we wait, and it's like, yeah, because it's so damn hard to book these jobs. And then when we get cut, it's a gut punch. It is a gut punch.
And I feel like the amount of work that goes behind it, like nobody outside of this business realizes it. You get, first of all, your agent has to even submit you tons of people, right? And then the casting director's like, all right, I'll give her a shot. So then you study your lines. You maybe go to your acting coach, you film them, you get a call back. You do that. Then you have a fit, God forbid, like you got picked, like that's insane. This is amazing. Then you go do the fitting. Then you do the shoot day. Then you go back for the second shoot day. Then you go do post-production work, ADR. Ta-da, here it is. Here's the back of my head. It's like how much work went into that. It's like crazy.
But again, like I've heard it said time and time again that getting the audition is the win. Getting the second or third callback is extraordinary. So imagine what it's like to actually be on the set. Yes. And to shoot.
I do. I firmly believe that. And like having my son in the business now, I tell him a lot of those things as well. Like, even though you didn't book this role, you did so great. You're going to get more auditions. Like that, you just auditioned for the casting director and you nailed it. It's going to come. So we do learn those things from being in the business so long. But I think that is something that newer talent might get discouraged by.
But casting's not going to waste their energy and time if they don't think that you can do it, if they don't believe that you're not an answer to the problem. So I truly believe that the audition is the win.
You're right.
But then you did Eva Lives Here on Investigation Discovery. And I want to quote you. You said that it's your most challenging role yet, as you had to channel deep emotions, including shock, anger, pain, disappointment. And despite your internal self-criticism, you're accepting that each day on a set is a true learning experience. So this wasn't getting your hair done at the queue. This was hardcore nuts and bolts, legit acting.
Right. And it wasn't, I always get booked as like the nurse, the speech therapist, the waitress, this was the victim. And it was deep and it was raw and it was hard. And I literally had to go places in my mind that you don't want to go. And it was hard. It was hard, but so rewarding. Like I was so proud of that. And I don't know if it looked good or not. I was sick to my stomach the night it came out because I get myself so worked up. And parts of that show, I'm like, oh, I could have done better. But like the true, when I was in the moment scene, I was proud of because I really was in the moment in that scene and was in a dark place. And it really took me there. That was a 2-day shoot. And the first shoot day, my son Christopher was there as well with me because he booked that same episode. And there was one of the crying scenes that this honestly, I think was the first time I had to like really cry on camera, like on demand. And I just felt like I didn't know whether I was doing a good job or not because the director really wasn't saying much or giving much direction. It was just like, all right, we're going to do it again. And, you know, you don't know if that's because of you or because of their end, or there wasn't really much being given. And I was starting to get in my own head. And then my son came over to me and he's like, you're doing a really good job, Mom. And I was like, thanks, buddy. And I feel like that's all I needed in that moment to just like refocus and be like, you are meant to be here. You can do this. And this is why you're here. So I do love that he, in that moment, saw that that's what I needed and was able to give that to me. But thank you. Yes, I am proud of that because it was a very different role than I'm used to.
Yeah. Did you still enjoy acting generally after that experience?
I did. I think I enjoyed it more. I was like, okay. I want more of that. I want more of these deep, make me feel uncomfortable roles. Take me to places where I'm not just happy and shining, because that's not real life. You're not just always happy and shining. So it made me crave more of that.
So take me to the importance of acting class and training. Could you have done Dope Thief and Eva Lives Here without Actors Lab Philly and being immersed in that world?
No. And it's funny because I've taken classes here and there throughout, the years, but they were like little short-term classes, like, oh, take the 6-week class on, film acting or whatever. And you do it and it's great. And you do things. But having a place like the Actors Lab with Brian, I couldn't say enough about Brian Foss. He is amazing. I feel like he should be on screen every day because he's awesome. But just being able to be in that mindset on a weekly basis just prepares you so much. It gets those nerves away for the auditions so that you're not worried about how nervous you're going to be. You can actually focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on. Just being up there in front of people every week takes that stage fright away from you when you're doing it in a casting director's office. Okay, so there's people, but I'm in front of people all the time. Like that part's done. So I do think there is, besides the endless advice that he gives you and the way that he was able to make you realize things that you don't even think about. I mean, that all comes with him being a great coach. But in general, I think just sticking with your craft and always working on it keeps you ready for when the opportunity comes.
Absolutely. I've said it in his podcast where I talked with him that because of class, it keeps my baseline even when the legit audition comes in. That wasn't the case before. I would overthink it. I would do too many self-tapes. I would do too many takes. But now it's because that muscle's being flexed in class, it feels like the real audition just feels like a natural extension of the class work.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I think that it's so important to just get your nerves out in a situation like that so that they're not there when it counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, our older friend Christopher just started taking classes with him.
Oh, cool.
For fun. Yeah, he's in the teen classes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I don't even think he needs class after the incredible work he's done on the short film that I'm going to get to shortly. But speaking of the self-tapes, what's your stance on them? Do you like them? Do you not like them?
Well,
do you rather be in the room?
Asking me at a time when I've just done 22 of them. As of, what time is it? Okay, as of an hour ago, I was like, this is the worst thing ever. Because I've always felt like my first agent told me, to be successful, if you do 20 auditions and you book one of them, that's a success. So I'm like, okay, all right, I'll keep that in mind. But through the years, I've been really lucky and I've been able to book pretty regularly. Now, self-tapes come along and this is great. We're being seen in New York, in other areas that we couldn't just go, New York we could go to, but it's a hardship. We're being seen for jobs that we might not have been called into the room for because they can see more of us. flip side, they can see more of us. So I feel like I love the opportunities. They're harder to book because you're now in a pool of so many more people. So the pool is greater, but there's more opportunities. But then you get some that just ask for ridiculous things, like 5 different scenarios with outfit changes. And you're like, you wouldn't do this at a casting director's office. I had one that wanted us to film in the bedroom in low lighting. Like, I'm not a lighting person.
Yeah.
Film in my bedroom. Now I got to go clean my whole room. Like it's for a self-tape. Let me film in my studio. I do love it. But okay, so I just did 22 self-tapes since the beginning of the year without a callback, first refusal, or hold. So I was like, this is too much. I also credit that to now I'm in a lot of other markets. So I'm getting more from every market. So I've kind of compounded my work, which is great. But then it feels like I'm doing a lot more work at the same time. But anyway, right, like 10 minutes before, I just kept saying, all right, over the weekend, I finished the last 5 that put me over 20. So I'm at 22. And I'm like, something's gotta give. And 10 minutes before our podcast, I did get put on first refusal for one of them. So I'm very excited. So I'm still within my, I want to hear something out of every 20 I do.
Right. But that's the rub. I mean, self-tapes are great. I had my first, quick aside, I had my first in-person callback in New York last week, but it's been almost 5 years since that happened, but it cost me $55 and 7 hours of my life to do 4 minutes of work in front of the director. Now, I get that's going to happen, and I appreciate the time and money that self-taping affords or saves us. But like you said, it's more of an even playing field among the actors who are not in the region. Your toe is dipped in New York, North Carolina, Washington, D.C., Ohio, and people are dipping their toes into our pool as well. And I think it's great for the client. It's great for casting to show different faces. But at the same time, I just think that it makes booking so much more harder.
Well, much more difficult, for sure.
Yeah.
It does. And I think that's the good thing about, getting some direct bookings every now and then. Like this week, I have 3 direct bookings. One's a 2-day shoot. So two direct bookings. But it's like all that work of those 22 self-tapes haven't panned out, but I'm making money on something I didn't even do anything for. But if you don't do those, then you're not staying relevant with your agent. I feel like a lot of times I'm doing them simply for my agent too. Like the one I was filming today that I was quickly scrambling to do before our podcast. Like, I'm not going to book this. This is like, it's almost like a nationwide thing. I know I'm not going to book it. It's male or female, any ethnicity. Like this is not going to go to me. I had to turn down 2 of them from this New York agent recently because I'll be away on the shoot dates. And I'm like, I have to do it or he's not going to send me more. So here I go.
Yeah.
We just get it done.
When you see ages 20 to 50, all ethnicities, male or female, it's like, we don't know what we want. It's like, this hat is way too large for me to put my name in it.
Not going to work. But you still do it because that's the business and that's what we do. And if nothing else, you think, all right, I'm exercising my acting skills and honing in on keeping my skills, working on my craft at all times.
Of course. The self-tape, the audition is the gym. You're keeping that muscle flexed. Yep. For sure. But speaking of direct bookings, when you look back on your last year or two, did the majority of your work come from direct bookings versus auditions and go-sees? Because I have to imagine, because you've been at this for so long, particularly in the Philadelphia area, I have to imagine that clients feel more comfortable just booking you directly, given your history.
I have gotten a lot of amazing clients that do give repeat bookings. And I think that's one of the highest compliments to, have a repeat booking. That means somebody's happy with what you're doing and you're doing your job well. So I do think last year, probably most of my bookings were direct, but then some of the really fun, great ones are ones that you work hard for too. So I don't think you can stop doing the hard work even when you're getting a lot of work directly.
Right. No, I learned that this year. It took 6 months for me to book my next job from an audition. I went 6 months booking from auditions. I had...
Right? Doesn't that in your head? You're like...
it's like, what's wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong?
Maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe I should be doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
we are supposed to be here and this is what we're supposed to be doing. And I love that you took that time and started this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a suggestion from a friend that I trust. And I just went, hey, why not? And it's been a growth thing for me. I'm breaking out of my comfort zone. I've never put myself out there as me ever in my life. It's always been through a character. And that was that wall that I kept up as protection. But I'm starting to realize, later in life that professional privacy isn't necessarily a good thing. I think it's a good thing to share what you've learned. And we have to become this community of where we are sharing with each other, pinging off of each other. And that's how people learn and grow. I'm not selling anything either. It's just people talking. And I hope that people feel like they're not so alone listening to this, that we understand that they're in our pool as well. And we're all in this. And it's passion and drive and determination that hopefully makes us survive in this business.
Yep. Yes, I fully agree. And I'm so proud of you for doing this because it's awesome. It's great.
Oh, you made my day.
I always think
Thank
there's
you.
something more I can be doing. Like even today, I'm like, maybe I should be like writing a comedy that I can like star in because I think sitcoms are my genre. But I'm just
You should always be writing. You should always be writing.
I know. Maybe I'll star. You're inspiring.
Write a 2-page scene.
Mm-hmm.
Write a 2 or 3-page scene. You can do that.
I know. And I have so many funny girlfriends that are my tribe that would just go all in and I could write stuff for us and I have so many ideas in my head. I just have to put them down on paper.
Make that a goal. You take 5 minutes during the day, at the end of the day, or the beginning of the day, or when the kids are off at school, and you go, all right, this is the through line. This is the main idea. It's how I wrote a 120-page feature script, and you're just writing your outline of one sentence. All right, and on this page and this scene, this is what has to happen.
Right.
And then once you have that nugget, that main idea, then you can write from there. That's where the fun is.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe I will.
See what happens.
All right.
It's good
come out with a comedy soon.
It's good to inspire. But before I get to the family affair aspect of working as actors in your family, I want you put up a recent post. You did like a back in the day post. You got to tell me about what the hell, Forbidden Nights with a Vampire, the romance novel. Holy shit!
Wow, blurry with it too.
I mean, what was the direction for that pose? I mean, I'm afraid to ask this. I don't want to get your parents upset or anything.
This is really funny because that shoot, Forbidden Nights with a Vampire, there was supposed to be this male model there. And the way they wanted it was I'm laying on the table and he was supposed to be leaning over me, but I don't know he's there. So I'm just in my own little fantasy world. And he's there. But the thing is, the male model didn't show up. So the photographer had to call someone in. So he called someone in who was not even in the business. And he's like, it's okay, we're going to Photoshop it. So the guy on the cover is not the guy who was there. So he's leaning over me and he's got his arm like, here's my body. And he has his arm here. And he's just dripping sweat. Like dripping. Like it was because they had him shirtless. So he was a nervous wreck. So I have this red shirt on and it's just got sweat stains just all over it. And I'm like, and he just kept being like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. So I'm like trying to stay in this scene of like looking sensual and being on the cover of a romance novel. Sounds so glamorous. And I just have like sweat dripping on me from this guy.
I'm a victim of, I'm not a victim of, I'm the perpetrator of a similar story. You just reminded me a few years ago in New York. Whenever I go to New York, it's either -10 or 110 degrees.
Yeah.
And I had 2 auditions one day and I had walked from Penn Station to the Chelsea Pier area for one. And then I had to hoof it from Chelsea Pier to Midtown near Empire State Building-ish. And when I got there, it never occurred to me to bring another shirt. And it was 100 degrees sometime in July. By the time I got there, like 25 minutes later, my dress shirt was soaked. And there was no way for me to dry off. So I had to run up to the audition. And to make matters worse, it was for K Jewelers. And if you're familiar with the K Jeweler ads,
yeah,
I had to propose to this lovely lady, and then we had to embrace, we had to kiss, and
but we
again,
had the sweaty nervousness look down.
but that was down, and I must have profusely apologized 100 times, and her finest acting was her taking one look at me and going, "Oh, it's fine, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's warm."
Oh, I know.
Never again. Lesson learned, and never again. On a day like that, I'm bringing baby powder, I'm bringing shirts, I'm bringing whatever. But
we learn along the way.
So I was the pig once.
No, I felt bad for this guy. Nothing against him. Just hard to stay in the moment when you're just thinking, "Oh my God, I'm just getting sweat drips on me."
Yes. It's nice to hear the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. So thank you for putting that up. That's a nice tidbit. But
hold on, can I grab my lip gloss real quick?
Grab your lip gloss.
Sorry, I can't.
Let's have our first endorsement on the First Refusal podcast.
Okay, yes, I will. Tatcha. Tatcha is my all-time favorite. This is the Kiss You, and it is beyond amazing. Lip mask, they call it, but I wear it all day. Comes with a little spoon, so you don't even need to touch. You don't even need to get it dirty in there.
There you go, folks. She's a pro for a reason. Look at that.
Tatcha. So good.
All right.
Okay,
kindly,
sorry.
Kindly forward them the donation. Like maybe they'll give me $1 for that. Getting back to, you have what, 3 or 4 actors in the house? You and your 3 boys, at least?
I would say, okay, so I have 3 sons. They're 13, 11, and 7. I would say, and I have my husband. I would say there's 3 actors in the family. My youngest, this clearly isn't for him. But the other 2 are great. They're amazing. My little guy, he's going to be an athlete. I'm not worried about him. But my oldest, my 13-year-old, is all in. He loves it. He loves everything about it. He just started taking acting classes, like I said. So he's fully invested. And then my 11-year-old, he enjoys it. He enjoys it as a hobby. He likes doing it when things come up. He's not interested in taking classes, or, he says to me, "Mom, I'm not going to be an actor when I grow up. I'm going to be a baseball player." I'm like, Of course, yes. But it's fun and you're making money, so let's just stay with it. But yeah, Christopher's been doing great. They both did a short film, and then Christopher got booked for 4 episodes in Task, which is an HBO show coming out in September, or in the fall. So he's just fully invested, and he's with Pete as well. And so Pete's gotten him a couple more legit auditions recently, which is why he started taking classes, because I think he needs to be able to compete with the New York actors if he's going to be doing those big New York auditions. So so I'm hoping after a few months he'll just keep growing with Brian. I have no doubt he will.
So Christopher and Matthew did a short film called The World Takes. It screened at several film festivals, and I found it's a tough story, and it's a beautiful story, particularly at the end and cinematically, how thoughts and emotions are expressed. So what, as a momager, what's your feeling for these guys, particularly Christopher? You see them acting, modeling.
I just have to say,
you excited? Are you apprehensive about what the future holds?
I love every second of it. And I just have to say, watching that film, when I saw it, I was there the whole time that they were filming. Actually, I was there most of the time. It overlapped with a pilot that I filmed recently. But I was there most of the time. So I saw everything as it was going on, and they were so professional and amazing and great on set, and just had so much fun. And the cast and crew were amazing. Tommy Butler was the writer and director, and I couldn't say enough about this being their first experience with a real production like that. I think he fully is the reason why Christopher is like, I want to do more, because he made it such an incredible experience for these boys. But watching the film, when it showed at the premiere on the big screen, oh my God, like I must have felt like the Manning's dad watching the Peyton and Eli win the Super Bowl. I don't know. I just felt like doing something you love and then seeing your kids do it so amazing. Just, I bawled at the end of it. The last scene, when it ended, I just couldn't talk, ugly cry, bawling. I was just so proud of these guys. And then they called them up there, and they're up there doing their thing, talking about the movie and their experience, and they're just being so charming and funny. And I just thought, they're going to be okay. Like, no matter what they do in life, they're going to be all right. Like, they were great. I couldn't say enough about them. It was truly a magical experience for them.
So you're gonna let that, you're just gonna let it fly with them. It's like,
Why?
regardless of the actor's life and what it can hold, it's like if they're feeling it, just let them do it. Is that your mindset?
I don't love the actor's life, to be honest with you, for my kids, like as a profession down the road, because we know how hard it is and that there's no guarantee ever. But if this was Christopher's passion, I would 100% support him all the way. And knowing what we know, it's good that he would have that support, because that's something we never had. Our parents didn't, at least mine didn't, weren't in this business. So they didn't know how to support me through that. I don't know. I don't know what's out there for him. I mean, he's very creative. He's so into digital art. He's so good at it. So you just with your kids, you just always want to foster what they're into in the moment and expose them to things and then let them fly. So yeah, whatever he chooses to do with it is great. But right now, if he's into it, I'm just going to keep letting him do it.
I know I had that impulse as a young guy, like you were talking about at the beginning about your inspirations. And for me, it was my mother sitting me down in front of the TV after kindergarten every day. And I got to watch The Price is Right with Bob Barker and Card Sharks.
Oh, that's so funny.
And like, I know I got to be in that TV. I just knew it. And that whatever impulse happened at that young age, it crystallized and it never left me. But I never had the guts to really do anything about it until, God, 3 decades later.
Right. Yes, I agree.
But,
makes me think of my youngest. All he does is reenact football plays. He watches YouTube football highlights and he's just reenacting them with the football all over our house. So yeah, he's going another direction.
Okay. Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever blows your hair back. It's cool. But I think, for him to have this experience, particularly for Christopher to have the experience so young, I hope it takes him places. I really do. I hope it leads to more opportunities, and I hope that he doesn't get disappointed or jaded from lulls in the action. But I hope that if he does have the passion for it, that it'll carry him through.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. It is hard. Matthew had a couple really big auditions last year. I had them with a New York agent for a year, and this agency was amazing. They were with Nouveau, New York, and they were great. They were sending things every day. When I say every day, they were literally auditioning every day. And it got to be so much, like whether voiceovers for animated series or commercials or TV, it was a lot. And I was like, I'm going to give this a year and see what happens. And within that time, Matthew might have been at the right age or whatever, because he was getting tons of like leading character movie and TV show auditions. They were like 6-page auditions. He's 10 and 11 at the time. He was putting so much work in. We'd be at Brian's office all the time. He'd be studying 6 pages of script, filming it. And one of them, this kid can cry on command. He had an emotional scene, and that one he got a callback for. He had a live Zoom callback with James L. Brooks. And it was like, I'm watching him on this live Zoom callback with James L. Brooks. And I'm like, this is everything I've ever wanted to do. He's 10 and he's doing this. This is insane. And he got so close on that one. It was for a movie shooting in Boston. I think Anne Hathaway was tied to it. Something. And it was, he got so close. And he asked me every day, Mommy, did you hear anything? Did you hear anything? And my mom heart was breaking because I hadn't heard anything. And I hadn't heard anything. And about 2 weeks of him asking, I was like, I think probably not this time, Matt. And after that, I felt like this is a lot for them. And they are amazing at what they do in this area. But I just don't know that they're at the place right now to compete with kids in New York who are homeschooled and taking lessons. And this is their life. This is what they do. So we amicably left the agency shortly after that. And it was getting to be the point where I didn't want to do my self-tapes because I was so burnt out doing theirs. And I'm like, all right, now this is affecting my living. Something needs to change. But shortly after that, Chris was like, when can I do more? When can I do more? So I'm like, all right. So that's when I kind of got Pete re-involved and was like, whatever you can get them, because it's kind of fewer and far between. And now Chris in the lessons, like focusing on one is a lot easier, and just letting things come as they may for Matthew in the Philly area, I think is the way to go.
I hope Matthew can understand how incredibly good of a job he did.
I think he did. I think he felt it. And luckily, like, he has a lot. He's a very, very heavily involved in sports. So his mind was continuously somewhere else. So I think it wasn't like us when it's like you get to that point, a live Zoom callback with the director and you're like, When's it coming? When's it coming? When am I getting that phone call? Like every day you wake up like today's going to be the day. And then you go to bed like it's going to be tomorrow.
We're not as resilient at this age as they are. And we're not in the moment as much as they are. If they're going to get dinged, if they're going to get the close call, I think rather have it happen, at 11 and not,
yes,
where we're at.
They're learning resiliency. I'm teaching them rejection and how to overcome it at a young age, I suppose.
Yeah, really cool. Really, really cool. And again, it's hats off to you for making this work, not just you full time with a young growing family, but to have the kids involved with it as well. It really is commendable. And
you know what, Paul,
it's
like
amazing.
Looking back on like some of my favorite commercials that I made were ones that my kids were in with me. Like,
of course,
there's just nothing like doing what you love and sharing that experience with your kids who are really loving it at the same time as you. It's just really special. So that's,
Yeah, the giant grocery store ad. You had the whole family and then some in there.
Yes,
my God, I'm like, look at this.
Which was really funny because after that shoot, he was like, man, I'm exhausted. I'm like, I know. This is why I always come home so tired. He's like, is it always this tiring? I'm like, yes. It's emotionally, mentally, physically exhausting being on set for 12 hours.
Yeah.
It wasn't just us. We had our 3 kids and we had our 2 neighbor kids with us too. So it was like, they had a blast. I'll always remember it. It was really fun.
Of course. And it's good for the husband to understand the realities of what you're going through. And, it's not just lip service, but for them to get a little taste of it, I'm sure it creates more understanding.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Very cool. So what pearl of wisdom do you have after all this time from the Q, from modeling, from acting? You've been down this road for a bit. What philosophical wisdom have you carried with you from all these experiences?
It's hard because I've been doing this through so many phases of my life. But I think the biggest thing is to just keep doing what you love. And no matter what that is, just keep doing it in any capacity. If you're struggling to make money while you're doing it, do something on the side to make money, but don't completely stop. If this is what you love and this is your passion, find a way to keep it as a part of your life. Because if I would have let it go back in the day to just focus full-time on nursing, even though I felt the pull, I don't think I could truly be happy. So I think you just have to figure out what it is in life that you love and find a way to do it. Make it a part of your life. It doesn't have to be your primary. It doesn't have to be your moneymaker. Find a way to do it and have fun doing it and just enjoy every minute of it. That's all.
It keeps your soul alive that way.
And that's all we can hope for right now. I mean, we have to find what gives us joy in this world and foster it.
We just can't be slaves to the system.
No, and you have to know your worth. Oh, that's another one. That's my other pearl of wisdom. Know your worth. Definitely know your worth. Because especially nowadays, people are trying. Do you go on like these casting networks, Actors Access, Backstage? Like I'm on them all the time. And you see these jobs that it's like full day shoot, $150. And you're like, okay.
I say no, Amy, I say no all the time.
All the time. And I think actors, actresses starting out, talent in this industry, even models, like they'll be like, well, it's something. Yeah, but if we keep putting up with that something, they're going to keep paying that something. You have to know your worth and know that you're worth more and hold out and somebody will pay you for your worth. So that too, your time is worth more than you think it is.
Yeah. And I'll add to your wisdom pearls. I'll just say, go with your gut. Don't let your brain override your heart and your gut. If you feel like you're being used on a gig, then you're being used. And I understand when you're young and you're green and you want to make an impression, you're going to do whatever. But the industry knows that as well. It's like, if you're not going to do this, someone's going to do it. Great. Maybe it's maybe it's a good opportunity for them, but it's not for me.
When it's just starting out, fantastic. Give them $150. They will be thrilled.
Yes.
That's good. But when you have the experience and you know that you're worth more than that, don't settle.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Man, dropping wisdom bombs. It's nice. It's a good thing. I appreciate the camaraderie, the friendship, the comfort of working with people like you. It makes me do my job a whole lot better. I hope I help you make you do your job better.
Absolutely.
And like onward and upward, more gigs, and all the best to the boys in their career. And where can people find you? On your Instagram?
Yes. So people can find me on Instagram at Amy Garber 38. I like to post all my business activities and fun behind the scenes and my stories and some of my shoots and gigs in my posts. So come check me out.
There you go, folks. She's good. Follow her.
He's good. Thanks, Paul.
All right, work wifey. I'll see you soon.
Have a good day, work hubby. Bye.